Check, check. All right, we're live. Hello to whomever may be watching. I went live a little early while we get set up here. I'm sorry?
HDMI.
Oh, it's just on the floor somewhere. One of these was it. We're finishing setting up, which just takes a couple minutes.
Just slow.
Charlie's slow. Charlie was almost 5 minutes late. I was ready to send him a text. You're late.
If you mean almost 5 minutes late, as in 6 minutes late.
No, were you?
Yeah.
I thought it was like 7:04.
But that's typical.
Don't do that. Don't be that guy.
Which guy?
There was when do you know who Dick Purton is?
No.
He's been a morning. There was one more thing. You got to get the input to the right guy. So Dick Purton was a very, very long-standing morning show guy who was really, really, really funny.
Yeah.
And so he was funny himself, and he also was very good at surrounding himself with funny people who all complimented. You just want input.
Okay,
Source.
Two.
I think so, yeah.
Sweet.
So he was.
Morning radio.
He always had good guys around him. Will you crack my water just so I don't do it with my teeth in front of the world? So people, part of my disability goes into my hands. Not a lot of hand strength. So I do a lot of open a lot of stuff with my mouth. It's a good excuse to get people to do shit for you.
You do a lot of what with your what?
Oh, yeah. Don't want to brag. So he had I forget the guy's name, but he won the first Last Comic Standing. Which did you ever see that show?
Yeah, totally. I used to watch it as a kid.
That was a fun show. John something. So he had a skit. Don't be that guy.
Don't be that guy.
And so whatever it was, dorky or undesirable or whatever behavior.
Right.
Don't be that guy. And Danny Bonaducci took over for Dick Purton and still had a funny show.
That's good. Sorry, guys. I don't know if we've been talking into the mics, but I don't have our.
I've been semi-talking into the mic. I think,
are
are we all set? Yeah, we're live.
We're live from, can't say New York. I don't know. You want to just jump right into something?
Check. Well, I can tell my story.
Oh, yeah. Go ahead.
So just get used to it.
Yeah, you're right. Stop being a wimp.
Yeah. So a couple things I want to cover, but I'll tell a story first. So Charlie's dad and I went to college together, and we were fraternity brothers. So hopefully I didn't just vilify myself as being a guy in a fraternity.
That's all right. I think people are over that now.
I don't think they are.
As long as you're not in it at the moment.
Whatever. Right? It's the white guy in a fraternity.
Oh, right. Yeah. Oh, right.
I don't think it's and whatever. It is what it is. So we were up north in northern Michigan, so 4 hours north of Detroit skiing, and we were ambitious. The Saturday night we were up there, and we'd gotten a keg, and the keg, we didn't even put a dent in it. Everybody was tired from drinking Friday night, skied all day Saturday, and by 10 o'clock, everybody was strewn all about on floors and couches, sound asleep.
Like they should be.
Yeah.
Right.
So we finished skiing on Sunday, went back to your folks' place, cleaned up, and they said, we have a $50 keg here. Let's just forego the tap charge, bring it up another time, and drink beer the whole way home. And I said, you know what? I have no interest in drinking. I will drive. You guys can drink yourselves silly. This is fine with me. So they put is a quarter barrel. So they put the keg in the back seat, a guy on each side of it, and your dad was next to me. a guy named Phil Gore from Rockwell Center, New York, and a guy, Rick Champel, from, I think, Buffalo or White Plains. I think, whatever, western part of New York. So they are just drinking
4-hour ride.
heavily. So we start approaching the State Street exit coming south on US 23. And they said, we're having a blast. Let's keep driving. And I said, if we drive, and, it was probably 10 o'clock. I said, if we drive, and they're like, let's go to Toledo. I'm like, Toledo? Why would we go to Toledo?
What's in Toledo?
We're going home, or we're having an adventure. I said, so if I drive by that exit, I am not stopping this car until we hit Fort Lauderdale. And all three guys in a drunken, stupor start chanting, Florida, Florida, Florida. An hour later, we're in the middle of Ohio, and they are passed out. So I'm like, I'm fucking doing this, man. I'm driving. We're going to Florida. So the first anything, Phil Gore wakes up, and I'm going like 79 when the speed limit was 55. So I'm hauling ass. And we're in, I don't know, southern Ohio, maybe Kentucky. Phil Gore wakes up. And he like grabs and he's like, I gotta pee, man. I gotta pee. So I took a bag of chips that I had emptied, like one of those Mylar chips.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm like, pee in this because I'm not stopping this car.
And then
I'm making good time. I didn't want anybody else to wake up. Right? I wanted them to wake up. I wanted to like be in Florida when they woke up.
You're like you're like high on it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
These guys are, this is going to be awesome. So he grabs my head and he starts like grabbing my head to the point where it's like violent, borderline painful.
And you're driving.
Getting difficult to drive. Pull this car over. I got to go to the bathroom. And I throw the bag, go, piss in the bag, piss in your pants, piss on the floor of the car. I don't care. The car's not stopping.
I don't have a chip clip, right? Yeah.
30 to 90 seconds later, he's passed out again.
Oh.
Never went to the bathroom.
Oh, great.
Whatever. That part didn't turn out badly.
He didn't piss his pants.
So then, no.
Oh.
So now I am approaching Atlanta. It's about 6:30 in the morning. The sun's maybe thinking about coming up. And everybody kind of wakes up and they're like, where the fuck are we? I said, okay, try to remember. Think back. See if you remember this. Florida, Florida, Florida. And they're all like, oh my God, you did it? I'm like, when have I ever not done anything?
I should like look at my freaking record.
And they're like, if we don't, and it was the first weekend of the semester.
Right.
And they're like, we have classes that haven't started yet. So if you don't show up, like, Chris McKay, here, fine, check.
Right, first day.
You get kicked out. And then somebody on the wait list for that class.
Yeah. We're
going to lose all our classes. I'm like, you guys made the decision. You made the decision to drink. You made the decision to go past the State Street exit. We're in fucking Atlanta. I've been driving for like 13 hours all through the night, been drinking coffee and Mountain Dew, and we are not stopping until Florida. I'm like, seriously, we got to turn the car on. I'm like, seriously? You are going to have to fight me away from this wheel.
I'm sorry, there's nothing I can do.
Right. And
yeah.
And they finally and your dad was on board, but these two other guys are
nice. Great job, Dad.
Yes.
Down for fun. I like that.
Yeah. But these other two guys are like, we're going to be screwed. I'm like, whatever. We'll get different. We'll get some classes.
So half, whatever.
We're going to go back. We'll get classes, whatever they are. So we get kicked out of the classes we think we're supposed to have. It'll be fine. Can you tighten that a hair?
Yeah. Well.
Can you reach? Other way. Won't move?
Yeah.
That's fine.
Don't have enough strength.
No, it's fine. I don't think it's going anywhere. Yeah, so they like concede to the inevitability of this, and there's some funny side stories about the camera not having film in it. So we got to sign where it says "Welcome to Florida." Stop, and they have like free orange juice, like a
Sure,
mile
yeah.
in, And we're taking all these pictures and we're chronicling this whole thing. And I told Charlie before this, we took pictures of every event to get into Fort Lauderdale. We were basically out of money. We had winter clothes.
Oh, right. That's the best
We had
part.
winter clothes, Like I wasn't a Timberland
And
boot
skis
guy.
on the roof.
Skis on the roof, right? People are looking at us on the strip
Like,
like, what the hell are these guys doing?
Woo, ski. Yeah.
Right. We bought four tank tops that you said you saw the picture of that said there was a big raisin like holding a beer.
Right.
And it said Raisin Hell in Fort Lauderdale.
Yeah. And like the shortest shorts you could probably find.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
it was great.
Yeah. So we can put one of those pictures up. Anyway, we spent a night that I don't remember what time we got there. Part of a day, the night, another full day, that night, and then I think we came back into the next day. So we spent the better part of the day on the beach. So
That's awesome.
I think 2 nights.
With a hangover.
I don't even remember where we slept. I don't know if.
On the beach.
Oh, your dad had a credit card.
Oh, great.
So we actually ate and slept in a very nice place.
On borrowed money. That's awesome.
Right.
Yeah.
On semi-stolen money from your folks.
That's awesome.
So that's the story.
That's a great. I love that story. And my dad's been telling it to me since I was whatever young. But the best part of that, and I'd never even once considered it, because I guess he never mentioned it. I knew about the keg, but I never thought that you guys were hammered. Like, or not you, but them three were hammered. They're like, yeah, Florida, whatever, let's do it. Yeah, chanting literally, Florida, Florida.
Yep.
And it's an essential part of the story. I never even realized.
Yeah, I'm gonna turn you down a hair.
Okay. I'm loud in public too, not just, when the mic is up a little bit.
I don't know which one you are.
Tell you, Mom. Fort Lauderdale. I've never done anything like that. I'd like to eventually.
Like a impromptu road trip?
Yeah, spontaneous, whatever, but maybe even, I don't know. Spontaneity isn't a must for me, but I kind of like having plans.
I will tell another story. This is a cool story because he spontaneity, and I want to. This gets into eventually when we're comfortable tackling stuff that will get us enemies. Like you kind of know my position on like North Carolina and the transgender bathroom issue. All right. Can you tighten this with your pliers
Yeah, I'll try.
or something?
Give me a second.
It just keeps kind of fading down.
Which that goes this way towards you?
Yeah. If it moves at all, it should be enough.
I know that it did. Can't really tell. I don't want the brand new one. There we go.
Good.
You like it?
Yeah.
Sweet.
There we go. All right. No, maybe I'm too loud. We'll see. So spontaneous trips.
Yeah.
A friend and I had never been to Toronto. It was a Friday at like maybe 3:00. We're like, what are we going to do this weekend? There was just nothing going on. We hadn't spoken to anybody. And he said, let's go to Toronto. Okay.
Why not?
I'm like, Mom, we're going for the weekend. We're going to Toronto. See you later. Bye.
How long of a drive is that? I don't even.
4 hours.
Oh, it's not so bad.
No. So we drove to Toronto. Torrential rainstorm. We got there very late. We went to this after hours club that was kind of weird and freaky, but maybe it was fun. Found a place, but the important part of the story is, so we went to the CN Tower the next day. Do you know what that is?
Mm-mm.
It's like the equivalent of Seattle's Space Needle.
Okay, cool.
Really tall, really narrow building. It's got a rotisserie restaurant.
Oh, so it's basically copy-paste Space Needle.
Oh, that it has that too. Okay. So we just get a table, and it was, I think, a Saturday. So Saturday kind of happy hour time, 4 or 5 o'clock.
Sure.
So here's 2 young guys, we're early 20s, and we're sitting at a table, and there was room for more than 2 people. So this young couple just comes up to us. I think we looked approachable, and we didn't appear to be on a date. Um, and I was going to say, obviously, we're not on a date, but
Yeah.
that would be politically correct right now. So we're still.
That's like my
So
go-to joke.
So just wait,
I mean,
audience.
I never say that.
You know, we'll get more comfortable in being harmlessly offensive,
Yeah. Just for fun.
Just-
Folks. Come on.
just for fun. So get ready. So they sat down, and it was a couple that had driven down from several hours north of Toronto. It was the first time they'd left, other than going like to surrounding super, super, super small towns, ever.
Wow.
And it was their first day there. So it was like a sociology exhibition
Oh.
being with these people. Like, where are you from? We're from so-and-so Canada. Where's that? It's like 4 hours north of here. We're like, what's that like? And they said, a lot different than here.
I can
What's
tell.
different? And they go, well, first of all, we've never seen a building over 3 stories tall.
Yeah.
3, I'm like, wow. Never seen a building over 3 stories. So we just kept like, it was so interesting. And they said, and it's crazy, we've never seen it like a street that goes through a town that's more than 2 lanes. So like down the main drag in Toronto, I think at the time it was 4 lanes separated by a center lane.
4 + 1, right?
Yeah, so they're like, there's 5 lanes plus, and this is in kilometers per hour. They go, plus they drive like 70. They drive 70, which is 42.
I'd be like, first of all, I don't know kilometers, lady.
Well,
I live
it's
in America.
0.62, right? So 42 miles an
I'll
hour.
forget that. I don't need it.
They're going 70, and just on and on about,
What a big city.
well, how fast people drive, how tall the buildings are. Those are the 2 things I really, really remember. That people driving relatively slow and in control was crazy fast with them in 3 stories. 3-story building. So,
That's so funny.
yeah.
3-story building.
So, I mean, and there's plenty of people like that in the States.
I've never met anybody like that.
Well, we hadn't either, but, you know, you got to go to,
Sure, the whatever middle of the country or
Yeah.
yeah.
go to the, you know, the Plain States or
Flyovers. Yeah. I thought you meant like when you said like socially, so like a social experiment or whatever, sociology experiment. I thought you meant like they didn't have the personality thing. That bothers the shit out of me.
No, they were really
Yeah.
nice.
They seemed
and
like they were
weren't-
nice, right.
They weren't stupid or ignorant. They just hadn't been anywhere, or
Which is
seen
awesome. That's
anything.
super interesting.
Yeah, it was
Yeah.
really, really, it was interesting.
Like
It was
what?
cool.
Rubber tires? What is this?
Right.
What are tires?
Metal wheels.
Yeah.
We're used to wooden spokes. Anyway, we digress. So, interesting stories.
As usual.
I'm giving a shout out to Sherry. A lot's happened in my life in the last 8 days and really 2.5 years, and maybe I'll delve into that. You know, ultimately, that is and was a huge part of my life. But the details, when I get my head around it, there's
It's kind of
there's
fresh.
some neat stuff to share.
yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
learn about life and loving people and doing the right thing.
Totally, and I'd love to hear that stuff. You know, we whatever joke around, tell stories, but I think it's good to also talk about the stuff that you know makes you happy, makes
Yeah.
life worth living.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
You know, so there was one other story. And I wanted to talk a little bit about reading.
Yeah, sure.
And I want to get you to open up more, because I'm thinking the more we get you to talk about what you've read and the more we reference that and your dedication to reading and my extra 30 years on the planet and the shit I've gone through,
Yeah,
those can work off
Yeah.
each other, and maybe I save myself a little time in life.
sure. I don't know if I'd call it a dedication to reading.
I was throwing
Oh.
throwing you
Oh.
a bone there.
I'm very sophisticated and I read lots of books. It's great.
Well, you're very smart,
30
very
grade
well
level.
read, so you got that
I'm good at pretending.
So things I thought about to talk about, and I don't know how many jobs you've had, but jobs we've worked, and I've worked a lot of jobs. I got some pretty good stories, and I think about this a lot, and I think it's credited to Paul McCartney, but it gets miscredited to Woody Allen a lot, which is it was either 80 or 90%. 80% of doing it is showing up. Maybe
Oh
it's
yeah,
90% is showing up,
totally.
and that's very true.
Mm-hmm.
One of the things is I heard somebody saying, have you ever listened to that Jocko?
Jocko Willink.
Yeah,
I've listened to it. Snips and whatever. Friends of mine listen. My dad listens to it religiously. He was listening to it today when I
yeah,
got home from work.
he's got the same shtick. So, um, but anyway, he was talking. Him or somebody like him was talking about being an expert at something, and you have to do something for 10,000 hours to be an expert, which I don't necessarily agree with that number, but like, have you ever been an expert at anything?
Mm.
And then stories is on here, so I told a couple stories. Then reading, so um, we can get into that, not get into that. But Charlie's read a lot of books. I've read, um, I don't want to say embarrassingly few, but like, recreationally, before Sherry got sick, for 9 years, racing cars was what I did. So when you're working on and or racing a car, there's not a lot of opportunity to.
You're reading Motor Trend, right?
You're not reading anything.
Oh, yeah.
You're doing shit, right? And then there was a down period for 3 years, and then wheelchair marathoning before that.
I never
And
know
I
you
was,
did that. That's
yeah,
awesome.
yeah, I had a national ranking
Wow.
and arguably a world ranking, but
Ooh.
that's right. Ooh. Well, that was like, have you ever been an expert at anything? Have you ever like, what have you won awards at? Stuff like that.
An expert.
Because I've done a lot of shit.
Yeah, I think you have a great. I don't want to call it hobbies. That seems diminishing. I think that you, and I'm just remembering that thing you always say, what would a normal guy do, and then, all right, let me do better than that, or whatever you.
Here's what it is. So I have a few ways of making decisions, and one of them is, what would a regular guy do? What would an average guy do? And figure that out. Think that through, whether it takes 10 seconds or 10 minutes. Figure out what that plan would be. And once you know what that would be, that is precisely what you do not want to do. So what would an average person do? And then go this way, and going this way might be doing nothing.
Right.
And going this way might be, I don't know, jumping off a cliff. I don't know, but in the context of the thing you're deciding, what would an average guy do? Just don't do that.
Because it's lame. Unless you're buying groceries.
Yeah, pay your bills on time, be responsible.
Right, or being
make
a
your own money.
upstanding
Right.
citizen.
But yeah, when you're making, take chances.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Take chances in life, take chances in love, take chances, that's where you get reward.
And I like that. And I wish I was more like that. That's why I admire that part of you. Wow, that was weird. Kind of got. Maybe is this too far away? Is this the right spot, or should I be farther?
If you're over 50% green, you're good. In terms of.
Oh, I can't see it. How are we doing? Oh, we're fine. Okay.
Am I in your way?
Oh, our shoulder doesn't really matter. I don't need this screen.
We can move that, but it's helpful.
Fine.
Then you're on.
Yeah, it's good. Anyway, what were we talking? Oh, I was gonna say that's why I admire that in you, because I'd like to have more of that myself. Just the racing. I never saw it like the marathon, like wheelchair marathon racing. That's awesome. What do they call it? What's the name of the
Wheelchair marathoning? Whatever.
Okay, yeah.
But I mean, it was. I did probably more 10Ks and other distances than marathons.
Right. Well,
a lot of 10Ks.
Right. Anyway, that stuff's cool, and you. I was gonna say inspire me, but otherwise, then I'd be doing that stuff, wouldn't I? You give me reason to try to inspire myself. And I think everybody needs people like that in their life.
Well, I'm an incessant word looker upper. All right, Google. Okay, Google. What's the definition of inspiration?
Here's the definition of inspiration. The process of being mentally stimulated to do or feel something, especially to do something creative.
So it's
okay. So you inspire me to do things more then you inspire me to make myself better at doing the stuff that I want to do, whatever, to extrapolate it.
So,
But-
have you met Scott Shepard? Or have you heard his name in stories from up north?
Mm-hmm. Never met him, but
The weekend your dad got married, he came into town, and he spent the night with me, like before
romantically.
No, it was not a romance, nor bromance, nor any kind of mance. He said to me, and this is when I was skiing up at Boyne, like most weekends. And people are going to think I have a big head, but there was like a passing of the torch of like who the super good skier was. And the first guy when I started skiing up there was Scotty, and I'm not going to remember his last name. So he was the guy. Then he went out to ski the Pro Mogul circuit in Colorado.
Wow.
And then a guy named Ben Dancer took over, and I kind of hung out with Ben, and he and I skied together a lot when I got to know him. Then he got engaged and got kind of more, he was up there a lot more kind of socially
Sure.
with his
Yeah.
fiance at the halfway house,
Which is fine.
drink a beer, hang.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Then I took over the guard, and I was the guy. And what the hell's the point?
You're an awesome skier.
And you're kind of a local celebrity. All the kids who live in Boyne like knew who Chris was.
Wow, really?
Yeah, absolutely.
That's pretty cool. Was it smaller back then? That's not meant to be an insult.
No, not at all.
That's cool.
But no, before like big goggles were a thing, I really liked having a big field of vision. So I wore these big Bolle goggles, and then I liked being warm, so I had a hat that covered my head and ears, and you couldn't see who I was.
Yeah, I've seen pictures. Yeah.
Which I guess made it kind of more alluring, especially
International ski man.
And that was a point. What the hell was the point? When I was going up north. What were we talking about before
You
that?
said I'm gonna have a big head because I'm.
Before that, what got me to Boyne?
Oh my gosh, Scott Shepard.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
All right, marriage. Yeah.
Scott Shepard. So up there, it was like an assignment being kind of the guy, the
Sure,
Scotty
and
guy, and then Ben and whatever. And people knew you, and people would like seek you out at the bar, and not to any huge extent, but they'd be like, "You're that guy in the teal thing, right? Yeah, let me buy you a drink."
If it's getting you drinks, that's something.
Yeah.
I should have a low standard.
Yeah. So, and there were some neat stories shared with me. Like I'd ride the lift up. I skied alone a lot. I'd ride the lift up, and people would be like, "I was watching you," and fill in the blank. It was flattering.
And you cut off my 4-year-old daughter.
No, 4-year-olds couldn't keep up, I don't think. So Scott said to me, "What?" This guy keeps sagging on me.
Do you want me to?
No, it's okay. We'll fix it another time. I'll just pay closer attention. He said, when it's all over, what do you want to have left behind? And I said, through my actions, I want people to look at me, see what can be done, and do more themselves.
There you go.
And so I did that, and I lived that. And so your folks got married in
July something.
1990, maybe?
Oh.
90 or 91?
92?
Would have been 90.
No, 90 or
90?
91. I don't know. Whatever. Sorry, Mom.
Whatever.
Because Lainey was born in 92. So maybe 90 or 91. I don't know.
Probably 90. Yeah, she was born in 92 because
My dad always goes,
there's a
it was at least 9 months after the wedding, I swear.
I was going to say, right.
Yeah.
There's a gestation period. I think it was summer of 90. No, she was pregnant. I have pictures of her pregnant with me in Beaumont Hospital. So it was probably 91 because I got hurt in 92.
I think it was the previous year.
Okay. Anyway.
Doesn't matter. Minutia.
Then that became kind of, maybe I do want to fix this. It's starting to bug me. As much or more of a theme after my spinal cord injury. And it got, in a way, it got easier too. To There we go. Famous last words.
I didn't even feel like it moved anything.
No? Give it another try. I thought I saw it move. That had to have moved.
It definitely did. Okay.
Okay.
Well, maybe it's too tight now.
No, it's fine. Anyway, couple cool stories. So I was down in Toledo doing a pro solo, which is like, so this kind of car racing I used to do. It's very grassroots, amateur car racing. That said, I was at an SCCA national event, which brings out like the best and the best at this stuff. And you don't make money. All you make are some guys get sponsored, and then you win tires. Race tires are really expensive, and you go through a lot of tires out of crossing. Anyway, this woman came up to me. I had finished my runs, and I don't like being kind of gushed on
Sure.
for being in a wheelchair. And we'll do another show, being in a wheelchair, being hurt, being of a certain sexual orientation or ethnicity or whatever does not make you an instant hero. So I don't want to be gushed over for no reason at all. It's just
in the moment it kind of is like weird to you, or you're like, what?
Well, people don't know me.
Right. That's what I mean. It's like kind of like
and this is just a
little familiar.
byproduct of life.
Right.
Anyway, so this woman comes up to me and she goes, "Do you drive that white Corvette?" And I'm like, "Here we go. I'm going to have to sit here and,
Why, you want to ride home?
Early on in my injury, I wasn't real patient, which wasn't so cool though. I'd be kind of brash with people. But anyway, let me get through this. So she comes up to me. First thing that goes through my head is, here we go. So, are you the guy that drives the Corvette? And I said, I am. And she goes, I just got to tell you. And I'm like, okay, here we go. And she goes, I just got to tell you. She said, you just did something great. She said, my son came up to me and she saw you drive. And I was like middle of the pack, which is very respectable at this kind of event. So reasonably fast and among like this uber fast in this, say, third of the country. She goes, my son, he watched you drive and then he watched you get out of your car. And he came up to me and said, Mom, he said, if anything like what happened to that guy ever happens to me, I'm going to be him. And I was like, that was really cool for me. And I saw the kid, he was like 11 or 12. And it was, I think, neat for him to see something like that and have the presence of mind to say that shit happens to people. And look at that guy, and that made me feel good. And I've gotten a couple, compliments like that. There's a guy, I think he's still racing. He's older. He was 80 when this story happened. So he had gotten a hip replacement. He's still doing autocrosses. He's got a vet. He's racing. And he was, part of the sport is if you race, you work. So you help with the timing, you help run the course, whatever, to keep it cheap and sustainable. So I said, hey, Fred, man, I said, I got to tell you, man, you're awesome. And he goes, what? I said, I said, I don't know how old you are. And he shared with me how old he was. And he goes, I'll tell you, but you can't tell anybody because they'll treat me different. And he told me. And I'm like, that's so cool. You're out here, And he just came out alone, did his own thing, raced, fucking 80 years old. And I'm like, that's so cool. And he goes, I can't believe I'm hearing this from you. And I said, why? He goes, because you are literally in life my hero.
Wow.
And I said, why? He goes, because you're in a wheelchair. It's like, I'm 80, whatever. I work. It's like you're driving a race car. And locally, when I was in my peak, I was, it was me and a couple other guys, and we were the fastest.
Yeah.
And being competitive is a blessing and a curse, and that's a whole nother conversation, especially with hobbies, because they can take on a work-like feel when you're obsessed with excelling.
Just winning, right?
Yeah. Anyway, so he said that, and that was just like, what an awesome reward.
That's awesome, man.
And it occurred to me probably that it made other people want to drive better. When I'm one of the, I chased raw time. All kinds of cars do this, and I would just prepare myself to chase raw time. And I think it inspired people to go faster, and I hadn't really thought of it before Fred said that. So that's still a thing. I want to, whatever the envelope is. And sometimes it's not racing cars or doing marathons or skiing bumps. Sometimes it's just being nice in a difficult situation.
Maybe that's my talent, I'd say.
You perhaps. And you got a lot of time. You got a lot of time.
Perhaps.
You got a lot of time.
That's diplomatic.
No, it could be. It was sincere.
Yeah.
Anyway, so that's kind of a little piece of me exposed.
That's cool, and I like that. And I think with your whatever, this situation that whatever life puts you in, that's one of the best things you can do with it is inspire other people to be better than they are today. Be more like that guy. Would you let that shit keep you down? It's like you're like, I don't have that shit, and I'm not doing that well. And I think that's a wake-up call for a lot of people, and I like that.
Yeah. What's your excuse?
Right.
What's your excuse? Don't have an excuse.
Yeah.
Just get out and grind.
There you go.
Just get out and grind. There's before all these podcasts, I would watch on occasion like some of these motivational guys. And one guy is just like, he grew up in a bad neighborhood. He wound up in jail. I think he was in jail for quite a while, 5 or 10 years. And his mantra was always, you got to pound at your craft. You got to pound at your craft, whatever it is. Just get up. And I've been in an opportunity to try to help people in situations, and I'm like, whatever, show up. This is highly annoying. Maybe we need to put like some glue in there or something, or some like 3M tacky shit.
Oh yeah. Oh god, that stuff.
Or a washer. I don't know.
You could just switch mic stands with you.
I don't think. Yeah, yours doesn't seem to have a problem.
Because yeah.
But maybe this will help.
Oh, taking the weight off of that. Yeah.
I bet that will help.
Well, I also tighten. Whatever. We can talk about it later if you want, unless it's going to drive you insane.
What this? Oh, maybe is it this thing? Maybe that's.
Because it's just a rod in a tube with a. By the way, I was about to say I'm a doctor. Your knee thingy and.
Oh, you see this thing dropping?
I guess.
Whatever. So. I've whatever I was on, I've run out. So, let's shift gears.
Do you want to talk about one more car thing I saw today, or not today? Recently.
Sure.
I got to ask you because I don't really know anything about it. I saw the C8 Corvette is going to be mid-engine. How do you feel about this as a big Corvette guy, GM guy, really?
Well, my understanding is that car is going to cost $100,000 plus. So my feeling is that's really cool, provided that they keep a regular front-engine car that remains the affordable supercar.
I see.
Because when I bought the white car in 2008, it came with what is called the Z51 package. So it's extra cooling, bigger brakes, a little bit different gearing, suspension, stiffer suspension, bigger sway bars, different shocks. It's a track package.
Yeah.
So it's track ready, and the Z51 package at that time was less than $2,000, like 18 or 1900 bucks.
What? Wow.
Well, I mean, a brake rotor to make it a little bigger doesn't cost so much money.
I
A
guess. Yeah.
spring costs what it costs, whether it's stiff or soft. So
Yeah.
it wasn't that much more money. So that car at that time was, I think, around $50,000,
That sounds. Yeah.
and it was track ready, like truly. So I mean, you can get in a car that'll go on a track and just, I mean, it'll beat many Ferraris, Lamborghinis. It'll smoke almost. It's a track car, and it's light and kind of apples and oranges, but it'll smoke pretty much any Mercedes AMG, any BMW.
Me and my dad sat down and watched 25, 30 drag race. It was like awesome, and the Corvette always rooting for it.
That's a drag race, though, right?
Yeah, it's not autocross, but it's
Well, I'm talking road racing. So
okay.
the only car that would beat a $50,000 Corvette, you'd have to spend $100,000 on. Yeah, let's try hitting this again. Sorry, viewers, listeners. We have a saggy mic issue. No.
Here, let me see. All right, this guy. No, look, the whole mechanism is spinning. Why is that?
No, I think it's good. I think it moved. No, I think it's okay.
Are you sure?
Yeah.
Feels loose to me. Okay.
No, I think we're good. I think we're good. So my feeling is that's great. If they make, a super duper car, that just wastes everything, great. But if they take away the car
Yeah.
that's affordable to, that you don't have to be super wealthy to own,
Mm-hmm.
super. But if they take that car away and just make the Corvette just another inaccessible supercar, then I think it's a bad decision. If they do both, that's good.
And do you think that they've been gearing up for this? Because remember, a few years back, you were telling me, we're talking about a new Camaro, and I was like, picking either a Challenger or Camaro, can decide, yada, yada. And in that discussion, you're like, they're making the Camaros like they're sweet or whatever. They're too nice. And you're upset about that because it devalues the Corvette. And you think they're preparing for that in advance.
You mean no?
No, I'm like,
No, because
conspiracy theory.
the Corvette just has the only word that comes to mind, and it's the wrong. If you're a musclehead, it's the wrong word. But the Corvette has like a cachet that a Camaro doesn't. Camaro's like a pony car, kind of a musclehead.
Mm-hmm.
Corvette is just a little more refined, track ready.
Right.
Again, although the Camaros are super capable cars now. They've dropped a lot of weight and basically have the same engine. They don't. Basically, they have the same engine and transmission. So I don't know. I don't know if they're up in the game on the Camaro to address that. But I think it would. Something wrong?
No, I just pulled my headphone stands right.
Okay.
Yeah.
I just hope it doesn't go away. I hope they don't price it out of, what somebody could choose to afford.
Yeah. And I'll always love that car. It'll always be my, whatever, celebrity crush. Even and it got better. I don't know how you feel. I like the C7 the most of anything. And oh man, seeing that new Stingray, it just makes me.
Yeah.
The first one I ever got up close to was yellow. And for some reason that sticks in my mind, but I'm all about the British racing green.
Okay.
Yeah.
I like the C6 and the C7. They're
The 6
different.
is sweet. Undeniable.
Because they did a real nice job with the retro, kind of bringing the C3 features of the bubbled up wheel wells.
Yeah, it's
in the front.
curvier. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
I like that.
Yeah.
So,
Oh god, just a great car. Anyway. Yeah.
yeah, so that's my take on that.
Are we jumping? I got
I don't
something
know.
for you interesting. It's topical to the first show too.
All right, hang on. Where are we? We are at
I don't know, it's my watch is wrong.
45 minutes. Yeah.
Okay.
Let's go another 15.
And you're saying earlier this episode you're saying, "Yeah, I want you to, reel off some shit." And just yesterday I was just doing some reading, and I saw some PBS article about how remember we had the conversation about dogs, and I was like, yeah, 10,000 years ago, yada yada. It was an article about how dogs had actually evolved 130,000 years ago. And I was like,
I didn't say I had the timing right?
I was like, yeah, you did say that, but in the article I was saved because it said recently discovered. So I probably learned it the proper way, and then it's since changed.
But did it tell basically the same story?
Yeah, it actually said 12,000. Yeah, but you were right about that. The dogs evolved independently, and I apologize if I had my anthropology textbook. I have the right evolutionary terminology for you. Dogs evolved independently, but not outside of the realm of humans. So they're living around the domains, right? They're domains in whatever villages, tribes, shit like that. And I would imagine it's the dogs who are better at just being around you, or the wolves that are just better at being around you. Those same traits of domesticatability, again, I apologize, turn you into a dog over thousands of years.
So tell the story.
That was really
It's a
cool.
neat story. I have 3 dogs. I love dogs. Right now, they got my back in this house. You know, I referenced some tough sledding. I can get into details another time, but I think dogs are incredible, and I think there's this kind of a symbiosis, maybe not biologically, but I think I think dogs and humans have a connection that's symbiotic, and I just think they are man's best friend. So yeah, tell the evolution of the domestication of dogs. It's
Oh, that
a
was
cool
it.
story.
Yeah.
Yeah, but they don't know. Go through the detail.
Oh, I think what you're talking about is just the. Do you mean in modern? I'm asking where you're coming
villages
from.
in the
Oh,
trash.
okay, so right. So villages, the wolves would hang out around these camps, whatever you want to call it. I'm picturing 130,000 years ago. You're not very. You still got like a hut, you know.
When we were tribal.
Yeah,
right?
tribalism. Yeah.
So when we had tribes and camps and kind of pseudo cities.
I'm sorry. No. This is prior to the settling down. I should know this. This is Old
Testament.
No, there's like the Neolithic period, which is new, right? And then there's Paleolithic, I think. I don't know. Forgive me if I'm wrong. Anyway, the thing that separates those two time periods is when humans started settling down in agriculture as their main food source, right? Before that, you're like roaming where the food goes. So I guess these wolves would follow people, and wherever there's humans and fire, you know, there's scraps because people don't eat bones and stuff. Maybe back then, you know, we started out as scavengers, you're eating bone marrow, but I don't know. I imagine there's waste, and the wolves and the humans kind of got along. It's like, you're not going to eat me if I let you have my leftover, whatever, venison bone, and you get a nice little meal or a treat or whatever. You don't have to go and get trampled by some buffalo or whatever you got to do.
Mastodon.
Right, a mastodon. Woolly mammoth. Well, geez, back then I guess the stakes were a little bit higher.
Yeah.
Yeah. And anyway, over time, people and wolves, or I guess at this point, dogs, my new information tells me that dogs evolved before humans started to domesticate them. And then the dogs that were the best at protecting the village, and the dogs that could do, and this is before modern husbandry, you know, genetic selection, but the dogs that had certain qualities, you want to keep them and breed them.
But also, was I accurate in when villages began and the waste was taken out to the perimeters of the village?
Oh, wolves that hang out around there?
Yeah.
That was after.
Yeah. So
I think we had dogs before we settled down.
Yeah, but where a lot of the kind of what I'm calling symbiosis began to really take place is, so the dogs would continue to follow the people. People became more as we civilized, kind of.
Well, they do use that term.
Yeah. Into societies and villages and tribes and all that. You know, you would actually take your garbage and you would take it away, and I don't know if it was 100 yards or a mile to the edge of the village, and the dogs would feed there, and they kind of hung around just kind of coincidentally the perimeters of the village. And then when other tribes would approach the village, you know, for the purpose of war and conquer, the dogs would make noise, and it went from the dogs just making noise because they were being bothered to the dogs actually becoming protective of the village And that's kind of how the man's best friend thing
Right.
began.
There's undeniably a companionship factor to a dog inherently in humans. Well, at least for me and Chris.
Yeah.
So those two data points. I don't know about the rest of that, and I don't want to,
Well, I got
because I
that
was wrong about the
information somewhere,
10,000 years.
and I don't remember where, but
I think a midden, which is like a trash, whatever heap, they call it middens back then, is like kind of like in the village. They weren't really up on that stuff. And we had, the thing that's confusing me is we were tight. We were tight with dogs before we started settling down, and that was one of the big things about our matching, our symbiosis, is that I can hit something with a spear at a distance, right? And then the dog can be like, go chase it down faster than I could. And we're a great hunting team, apex predator hunting combination. And there's an article about it in the Sports Illustrated. It talks about the anatomy of it. It's very interesting, but that's when I started kind of enjoying it.
it's
Hunting.
called apex hunting, and that has
No,
a
that
good,
was just my description of it.
Okay.
Yeah.
that's cool.
But you're like undefeatable dynamic duo, right? Speed and distance is all you need. And the dog is like, I don't know. Dogs are great. We wouldn't be here without them. I agree with you with that
Yep.
point. Yeah.
Yep, they're at the door every day I come home.
That was
Happy to see me.
Yeah.
There's have you ever heard the joke? My dad told me this joke. He said, if you have a wife and a dog, lock them both in your trunk, wait an hour, open the trunk, see who's happier there,
Oh my God.
right?
Yeah. Wow.
Your wife's not going to be so happy. Your dog's going to be wagging his tail.
Hey, Chris, how you doing? Oh, I missed you.
I didn't say I'd do it. I said,
I'm sorry. Hey. Yeah.
hey, whomever.
All right.
So we've been storytelling. What else?
I got some stuff here. It's kind of, we passed it now.
Okay.
Whatever. Yeah. I was just taking notes while you're talking, but
Okay.
yeah.
The reading thing.
Oh, reading. Okay.
So I have felt as though, and might be changing my mind because I got a guy next to me who's read and has a mind full of stuff from books. But I was watching a podcast,
Vast.
and a guy named Ben Shapiro said, if somebody dedicates all of their life, part of their life, even some substantial amount of time to writing a book, and you can spend somewhere between a couple and several hours reading a book and learning all of this in a highly compressed amount of time and get the same amount of data, why would you not? And I agreed with that. And then I watched somebody talking about books, and I'm like, well, one reason is because I can go listen to some other guy who read the book and get the good parts, and
Talk about
instead
it.
of several hours, several minutes. Anyway.
Which in retrospect, I absolutely agree with you. Thinking about it, I'm like, oh yeah, you just listen to
Or Cliff's Notes or whatever.
whatever.
Yeah, but, per our conversation before the podcast, I would certainly prefer to listen to it, to and from work. Make a better use of my time to and from work if I get to hear every word or pretty much every word.
Yeah. And it also depends on how you process whatever your psychoepistemology, Ayn Rand would say, how you use that information and how you collect it with your senses. What's the best way for you to process it and,
Yeah,
claim that.
and I might...
listening's not the best for me.
I might agree. Yeah, listening to something and reading something, there are two totally different ways of absorbing information and processing it. I think it's a more cerebral. I know it's a more cerebral experience when you read, and a lot more thought goes into it, and potentially a lot more concentration. But I want the information. If I just get the information, that's fine.
I want the next thing. So like, and that doesn't make any sense before I explain myself. I'm reading something. I have a lot of shit jumbling around in my brain. And then when something sparks something else that's already there, and I can make a jump from there, that's what I like. So I stop, take a note, and then there you go. I have some pearl of Charlie wisdom that is often discarded, as it should be. But there's a few that stick around, and I like that.
But is that Charlie wisdom?
I think as long as I'm not plagiarizing the concepts or the literal words, then it's fair game.
Okay.
And I absolutely have no desire to plagiarize or take credit for anybody else's work. I even feel bad when I don't give somebody credit when I'm just saying, "Oh, this guy, I forget his name," stuff like that. Yeah. And now that we're doing YouTube,
So
it's a whole nother deal.
Yeah, so part of what I shared with you was one of the reasons for me not to read is that I'm 100% confident that every idea in my head is an idea that's mine, that's I've not, you know.
Which I think is laughable, but that's fine. You can explain.
Well, you know what? Yeah, because there's an argument to be made, which is a good argument, that you're out in the world and you're listening to people and you're experiencing. Unless you live in a vacuum, you're getting the ideas from somewhere, and it's arguably people. So,
just being around, yeah. Just think about how much time you could save.
right. But as awesome as the dogs are, I'm not learning anything.
From hanging around with the dogs.
Right.
How to love.
I'm just getting
Feeding
right.
schedules.
I'm just getting unconditional love.
Yeah. I don't know. And that's what I like about it. It's like you have to rebuild everything before you're like, oh, I'm going to build a plane. I got to learn about basic aerodynamics, whatever. We got that shit figured out. Let's just read the book or whatever. And that's one topic. But you can apply that to anything.
That's true.
And I like that a lot about getting outside information.
But I think I shared with you, and I don't think it was on a podcast, the types of reading I like, which is probably where I picked up Bernoulli's principle was, Discover, Popular Science, Popular Mechanics, Omni Magazine.
Mm-hmm.
The 3 to 10 page, more technical, certainly more science-oriented articles. That kind of reading I love. The more, philosophical.
It's dry.
So the Ayn Rand, the,
I just bought
sociological econ books. So like, Adam Smith, Marx, whatever, right?
And the thing, a lot of that shit is not an exact science, and you can decide halfway through, be like, what are you talking about? You're just some guy. And like, I'm just some guy. I think you're nonsense. And then you don't want to finish. Yeah.
Right. So I told you, I started, the first thing you recommended me to read was somebody who was highly critical of Marx. And I'm like, you know what? Before I finish reading this, I want to read Marx. And then I'm like, you know what, Marx? I think Marx just sat in a room, postulated about stuff, which is fine. That's how you get started.
I agree. Yeah.
But he just postulated about, how fucked up capitalism was. And it's just shit in a book.
Yeah, right. And people read that book, and some of them, whatever, become president, and some of them are homeless people, whatever. There's power in that. That's not why are we going this way with this conversation? The philosophy stuff's dry. Like you, I could read the science stuff all day. I love that stuff. Can't get enough of it. But I don't find it as applicable in daily life as the why do I exist and what is my purpose.
I agree.
Yeah.
I understand. That makes sense.
Right. And
it wasn't so I'm whatever that first author you told me to read was. I read, well, a lot's happened in the last 2 weeks, but so I read, I don't know, for an hour or two on a Saturday morning, and I enjoyed it, and I haven't picked it up since. But that was part of the whole Marx thing, too.
Oh, right.
So I read the Communist Manifesto, and then I'll go back to that. But
yeah,
I don't know. It's a lot of sitting still.
It is a lot, and that's why I think maybe whatever. If you want to, if it's nice for us to talk about something, the best, easiest way for you to do it is just listen to the freaking audiobook when you're driving to work. Like 3 or 4 days, you'll be done.
Or you bring it up, and I just criticize you.
All right.
Or criticize what you're bringing up, not you.
Well, that might even be we might be onto something with that, because you'd be like, I never even read this stuff.
Well, that was my thought.
Yeah.
Right. You bring you don't even necessarily have to present it in a knowledgeable way. You can just kind of regurgitate it to whatever's topical.
Yeah.
And then we talk about that.
Yeah, but some of these guys that I'm reading, like, I respect them as people, even though I've never met them, or that they're dead. And I would feel very badly about mischaracterizing their arguments, even though nobody might be watching this at the time. It's like there's something about that.
Yeah, but it's social science, and it's open for interpretation, right?
Yeah.
I mean,
some of it, yeah.
Isn't that fair?
Yeah, Actually, all of it. Whatever. Yeah. Subjective. Sure. How do you want to live your life? Isn't that funny? I just realized the objectivist philosophy is just one way. It's just one philosophy on how you could live your life. It's subjective. You don't have to live your life that
You're
way.
right.
Yeah.
Objectivism is at a higher level a subjective concept. Oh my God.
You're welcome.
My mind just blew. Right.
Yeah. Sorry. Second grade education. Yeah. I've been reading Aristotle stuff again, and I like it. Just to catch up with you.
A guy at work
great.
was reading Aristotle. I don't know if I shared this with you, and he was like 15th century?
Aristotle? He
Or
was
is-
born in
was he
384 BC.
BC? Okay.
Yeah,
Who was
in Macedonia.
whatever? Who was 14th, 15th century? Socrates, or is he way back? then, too?
Socrates was Plato's teacher. Plato was Aristotle's teacher.
Okay.
Yeah.
Who am I thinking? Whatever.
14th century.
So
I
anyway,
don't
so
know.
these guys are right. So these guys are
That's when Aristotle's works made a comeback, though, and it kind of got them out of the Dark Ages, which is really interesting. But we don't have to get into that.
so yeah. So these guys before. Yeah. So this guy was bringing up the concepts of Aristotle, and like how did this guy get there? Right, 2,000 years ago.
Right.
So, see, now I'm interested in reading that.
It's cool, and a lot of it you'll be like, this is for humor's science in a in a whatever. I think I laugh at that a lot. Like Hippocrates back then, he's like, we gotta drain your four humors, like you bad blood, good blood. It's ridiculous, but a lot of that stuff is like that, like old timey thought thinking. But there's some good stuff, like just interesting questions about life, and he was asking the right questions, and he also took the right stance to analyzing it, as opposed to Plato and Socrates, where Plato was kind of a mystic. He's like, there's some shit that I don't really understand, and I'm curious about it. Maybe this is what is the answer.
For example,
Like he had six realms of like spheres of life. I forget what the terms are. I apologize if you're a Platonic scholar or whatever. I apologize, but it's like earth, fire, water, whatever, all this stuff, and they go in increasing circles around. And then the last thing is called like ether, and it's like space. And he's like, yeah, I guess it's just there's no space out there. There's no such thing as a vacuum. It's always got to be there always has to be stuff touch, like air or something. There can be no vacuum, and now we know space is a vacuum. My point is just he had no idea, and he just guessed and ascribed something to it. He gave it his best shot. Whereas Aristotle's like, I'm an empiricist. I only say things are something when I know that that's what it is. If I can't figure it out, it doesn't mean it's not figure outable. It just means I don't know the answer, and it's not always a deity or some mystic mumbo jumbo.
so he just moves on. He'll set whatever.
Well, usually he's kind of obsessive. He tries to figure this shit out.
Okay.
Yeah. Which I like about him, but he obviously fails a lot of the time.
Then what about Plato?
Plato if you ever heard Platonic or Aristotelian, that's those two things. They're at odds with each other.
Okay.
Plato's the mystic, Aristotle's an empiricist. My senses tell me what exists. I use my brain to analyze that stuff. That's what's true.
Wait, were you
Oh, I was explaining Plato when I was talking about mystics.
I thought you were
Yeah. No, sorry. Yeah.
talking about Socrates?
Oh,
So
no.
then
Socrates, we don't really know what he thought, because he never wrote anything down. And Plato's student just kind of made a compilation of like his interactions with people, and that's all we really know about him.
Really, he never wrote anything down.
Right. And all we know about him is his Socratic method, which is just, oh, really? Tell me more about that. Why do you think that? It's asking questions to get
Right.
down to the root of it. Right. And so from there, Plato took his ideas and ran with it, and then wrote a lot of stuff down. And then Aristotle was like, fuck you guys, you're wrong. Like, stuff just exists. You can't just make stuff up, which I think is admirable, especially back then. And he was charged with impiety, just like Socrates was, and fled the state of Athens. He's like, I'm not going to let you guys kill another philosopher, because they actually executed Socrates
Right.
for impiety, which is just not believing in the gods of the city.
So it sounds like the way you said it, Aristotle versus Socrates would make a good Monty Python movie. You can't just make stuff up. Yes, I can.
Yeah, great. Oh, my God.
She's a witch. She's a witch. Burn her. Look at the nose. Well, we did do the nose. What floats? Rocks.
Very small rocks, yeah. Trenches. Me and Brennan, like 3 weeks ago, Brennan's my
Introduce
brother.
Brennan. There you
I
go.
apologize. Brennan's my younger brother. He's a great kid. Sometimes I love him. We were like 35 minutes just quoting Monty Python and the Holy Grail. It's so funny, so goofy, and I love that. It's like, and the end scene where the cops come and arrest everybody, and it's great.
I actually don't remember that, but I should watch
Neither
it
did
again.
Brendan. That's funny. Maybe like people just turn it off.
Or
But
you
whatever.
just maybe it.
Yeah.
I don't know.
In the beginning of the movie, he rides by on a horse, and there's Lancelot, some knight dressed up on a horse, and there's some guy, historian dressed up like modern times. He's got a sweater vest on and a tie, and Lancelot rides by on his horse and like cuts his throat, and there's just blood going everywhere. And then his wife runs up. She's like, what's going on? What the hell just happened? And at the end, she's like, it was him. I'm sure of it. And the cops arrest everybody. Yeah.
Okay.
I thought it was lazy, but it's kind of funny.
A lazy ending.
Yeah. Totally.
All right. I'm running out of stuff in my head.
Oh, okay.
How are you?
I could go for days, but I don't know
Then
if
go.
it's interesting.
Then go. You take the lead.
Well, now I don't know where to go.
And I'm color man.
You're color man?
I'll be the color commentator.
The color commentator.
What do you got on your pad there?
This is nothing. This is just stuff from today. It says mid-engine Corvette watches dogs 130,000 years. I don't want to say his name. Drunk Florida and slicks/traction.
Oh, so something I got to bring up. And it's just a really brief catharsis where I took one of our first kind of practice podcasts down because I was nervous about some of the stuff we said, and then I brought up some names, but I really, really, really struggle with Elizabeth Warren. The whole Native American thing, she's out there. She's talking about evil corporations and this and that, and she took advantage. She's just not an honest person. She has no integrity. You know, the DNA testing confirms that she just misrepresented the degree to which she has a genealogy. And just watching people listen to her and watching her rile people up, and some of the stuff is so hypocritical because she took something that was, at best, a very, very partial truth and exploited it. And I can't stand that person.
Do you mind if I play devil's advocate?
Sure.
Or argue on behalf of Elizabeth Warren, even
Sure.
though I don't agree with what she did. Is it possible that some household you grew up in, not Elizabeth Warren's household, not yours, mine, whatever, X household, where your parents just tell you stuff and you're like, oh yeah, whatever. Like, I don't even have to think that they're lying. And is it possible that she just her whole life never even considered, like, what? We're not Native American. What are you telling this like stupid story for?
So that's what she said.
Right.
So for those of you who may not know what the hell we are talking about, Elizabeth Warren is, I think, third or fourth. She's a congresswoman. Hopefully that's, I hate having to be politically correct. So she's in Congress. She has announced her candidacy for the presidency for the Democratic Party. And she currently holds, I think it's 8% of the vote, which is not insignificant given how many people are running.
There's like 20 candidates, right?
And in at least 2 jobs, she asserted ancestry with Native Americans, and it had an impact, and I don't know if it affected her income. I don't know if it just benefited the institution she worked for, but there was some gain realized by somebody for some purpose for her doing this. And Donald Trump called her, she's the woman Donald Trump called Pocahontas, which I thought was pretty amusing.
I concur.
And yes, so when questioned about it in the interview I saw, she said she answered it exactly that way. She said, uh, I ascribed to what my family told me, which is what was handed down, as is with all families and how you believe and where you believe you come from, which is I was told we were Native American.
Yeah.
That's not enough to be signing documents, to be a bar accredited lawyer, to be a professor at a university, to be signing legal stuff for a university to get recognized for diversity, having Native Americans, if she got some sort of pay benefit as a legal minority because she had nowhere near enough percentage of that lineage to be technically a true Native American. And I did my research, and what gets you into a university is almost exclusively have to be a member of a tribe. And she has nowhere near even the minimal amount, which is not the normal amount that certain tribes might allow you to have to be in the tribe.
Mm.
So she's making declarations, legal declarations, that I am made up of this stuff.
Yeah.
So, yes. Might she believe that she is Native American to some
Or
degree
did.
as
Right.
presented to her by her family? Yes. But then if you're going to start signing shit and signing up for shit as a result of that, you know what? You need to do your homework and either just go on ancestry.com and just go back.
Okay, I have to jump in. I'm liking this. I have to argue on behalf of her again.
Bring it on.
And I don't even know if this is whatever closer to truth or closer to good argument and convenient argument. If I was her, I'd say this. I was sitting on the couch, whatever, with my mom and dad in the kitchen, like we're having dinner and we just finished dinner, and I'm sitting there filling out college applications, yada yada, and it's what should I put? Mom, we're Native American. Should I put this or this for my race on the whatever? She goes, oh, put Native American, and you're like, okay, whatever, thanks, Mom. And then 30 years later, or however long, the country's in a
Where we're at. Let's just keep it
country's
simple.
where we're at. It's different than it was. That stuff didn't really matter as much as I'm guessing. I wasn't alive for that time. I've read a lot of stuff. You could totally claim it didn't really matter back then.
She didn't put it on a college application that anybody's aware of.
Okay.
It was later in her professional life.
Okay, well then that's inexcusable. I agree.
Full-on adult, full-on grown-up, full-on lawyer. You need to be responsible for yourself and the shit you say.
Yeah. Now I picture her being like, "Oh, I could put Native American on there and get."
Right. I think this other
that's
this
fucked
was
up.
talked about in
Shouldn't
the
do that.
family. You know what? Do your fucking homework and establish this accreditation, or don't.
Yeah.
And the other thing is, if she was that confident, so she's between. So this was presented to, and they never said why or how, but so a genealogist out of Stanford University actually looked at the DNA results.
Mm-hmm.
So, and a scientist at a highly reputable university. And so the range was between 6 and 10 generations out. So that's between 1/64th and
120.
1,024th.
Yeah.
Right? So
Yeah.
what was the math? Between 1.5% and 0.1%.
Yeah.
So, and again, so most tribes are 25%. And on the very, very, very low end, and this is not most tribes, are 1/16th, right? And she and the guy said, he said he believed 1/8, but the range is 6 to 10. So what he believed was 64 to 1/256th.
Right.
And so 25%? Is that what that is?
I'm not
math-wise?
quick enough. My math skills are 7th grade level.
Okay. Well,
Yeah.
that's all right. So anyway, 264th. It's just, I'm sorry.
No, it's whatever. And would we be having this problem if there were certain regulations in place that made it so that people like that were different had benefit? Whatever. I'm just saying she was taking advantage of a system that might have already been less than perfect, right?
The thing is,
I'm not defending her. I think it's
She
wrong.
said, here's the DNA. I was right. So now I have two problems with that.
Oh, yeah.
One
yeah.
is she's not copping to how little it was,
Yeah.
right? You know what? It was at the most 164th.
Yeah.
So, yes, I indeed have the genealogy. That having been said, it was not substantive enough to have done what I did, and I apologize. She never did that. She said, look, here it is.
Right.
But what here it is substantiated that it's not enough to legally do what you did.
And it wasn't even what she was saying it was. If I remember this correctly, I don't know how long ago the day that she released the DNA must have been in like, I don't know, February, whatever, January. The whatever she used, whatever the service she used to collect and test the DNA, there's some caveat in there that it's like, oh yeah, we tested this against northern Mexican, basically like Maya people, Maya civilization people.
I didn't even know that.
And so it's not even actually people from Native. It's like, and now mind you, those people are tied back together when you go farther back, but it's different. So tell me if you're doing Mexican Native Americans or American, Mexican Native Americans.
Yeah, there's a presumption that, it's like, north of the U.S. border.
Right.
But then the other part of it was, if she were so damn confident that she were Native American, she would have announced that she was going to be taking a DNA
right,
test.
Instead of just
And that
revealing
said,
it afterwards.
I'm Native American. I'm going to take a DNA test, and I'm going to show all you doubters that you're all full of it.
Yeah.
But what she did was took the test secretly and then waited to make sure that there was some substantiation of what she said, which to me was cowardly and fucking sneaky and shitty.
I don't know. The cowardly, sneaky, shitty part isn't as apparent to me as is just how daft are you that you think that this is a vindication of your crimes.
If she had the confidence to sign papers that said, I am this,
right,
then if she was the real deal, she should have had the confidence to say, fine, I'll take a fucking DNA test. Because the stories that were handed down to me from my family, the details there, they were consistent, and it's a fact, and I will prove it with a scientific test.
Yeah.
If she really believed it, if she believed it confidently enough to put it on a document and sign her name.
Especially a bar.
And she has not backed up and said, you know what? So, the Stanford, PhD guy says, in all likelihood, 256th. And did I get ahead of myself? Probably. And am I sorry? Yeah. So can we put this to bed? Sure.
Yeah.
And now she's out there being a proponent of, truth for the people, and shut up.
She's still making a fool of herself. Don't get me wrong. She was on some morning show, The Breakfast Club.
Oh, I was watching her this morning. That's why.
You saw that? Yeah. The like, when did you find out you're white? But there's something else interesting from that interview that people weren't talking about. It's like, at one point they're talking about this thing, like, what are you, why'd you do it? Why'd you say these things?
Oh, I didn't see that.
Okay, so
this came up today.
No, I think it was 2 days.
I saw her
sometime
in
this
week.
week.
Some goofy town hall this morning.
Oh, it wasn't town hall. It's a morning show called The Breakfast Club. It's some guy named Charlemagne the God, spelled with a THA. Anyway, and he's asking her questions about it, like, why, why did you do it? What are you, it's kind of messed up and all this stuff.
Oh, really?
And then at one point during this line of questioning, maybe 2 minutes into this kind of line of questioning, she goes, yeah, and I'm open to hearing conversations about reparations for black people. But I'm like, oh, I'm on to you. I'm wise to that. I hate that. It's everywhere.
Wait, I'm missing the jump.
She jumps from my flaws to campaign promises, and specifically
so she was just
campaign promises about black people on a prominently black show. Like, yeah, black people, they're not, there's stuff in college we need to fix. And
so is your point that
and,
she just like pivoted away from it?
Yeah, which is cowardly in my eyes.
For sure.
And I think that
Well,
all politicians are like that.
I was going to say every politician pivots because if she was on a predominantly black show, she wanted to get certain statements out to get votes. And the last thing she wanted to do, two things. She didn't want to talk about, she had thought about what she wanted to get out to whom on that show.
Yeah.
So she didn't want to squander that opportunity. And she certainly didn't want to talk about something that would, drag her down.
Right.
So two things. One, I'm going to run out of time here, so I got to get my message. Right. So, and campaigning's fine. If you're a Democrat, I mean, getting any percentage of any vote helps you. So that's fine. Pivoting away from the truth, whatever. They all do it. It would have been interesting for me to see. Yeah, if I had known she was going to be on, I would have recorded it.
I'll get you the clip. It's like 3-4 minutes, whatever.
That's long enough for me to do some healthy catharsis shouting at the television.
And that's the one thing I'll tell you. Like nothing, like maybe road rage used to be like, I'm gonna kill, whatever. Never did anything, but now it's just like my internal hatred for the deceitfulness, the capacity for deceit of politicians blows my mind. And nothing makes me more angry. Boils my blood. And it's like, don't lose control or whatever, but this is worth it, I think. Her switching from why did you lie about being a Native American to black colleges or whatever, black reparations, stuff like that. It was almost a non sequitur. It's like, what are we talking about? She jumped. It was that quickly. She jumped from just like,
yeah, and if she's saying something super favorable, the host of that show, he's not going to pull her off it because then they're going to be like,
no, they're feeding her stuff. She's going, yeah, that stuff, that too. You're like, handing out almost like pork barreling. You're like, don't talk about the Native American stuff. I'll just give you, but obviously not. I despise that.
Wow. So
it's hard for me.
So I despise her, and we don't have to bring her up again because.
I think there'll be more pearls in the future for the subject of the show, like the campaign's coming up. Oh my God, it's like podcast orgy, just good, awesome content all the time.
Yes, and we will. We'll get some haters because they will not understand what we're talking about.
Well, then we need to put a spin on it.
No, we need to make people understand who we are before, just like anybody who's, I think I'm smack dab in the center. But because I believe in personal responsibility, and I do not support just inequitable redistribution of wealth, then I'll be looked at as,
See, that statement to me, equitable redistribution of wealth. What is that? Like everybody gets the same amount?
I'm calling it inequitable.
Oh, well,
right. If you don't do the work, you don't get the honey.
And I would say saying inequitable redistribution of wealth is superfluous. You can just say redistribution of wealth. Right. Because you're stealing it. It's theft. Taxation is theft. If you're doing longhand logic, you like, longhand division, but you ever seen that before? It's really interesting.
No.
We can do it sometime.
I don't know. Maybe Whatever. I've done it.
I totally interrupted
I may have invented it.
Aristotle invented logic.
Okay. I've thought of things.
I thought of that, and I never even read an Aristotle book before.
No, there was something that Jordan Peterson brought up.
Oh.
And it was about suffering.
Oh,
and
yeah.
he got into some detail, and I'm like, I thought of that on my own like 5 years ago. I'm the smartest man on the earth.
Yeah. That's great. I've only ever had that one time, and it was when I was at the grocery store, and they had new baskets. And the baskets were, everyone knows what a shopping basket's like. It's a rectangle, and the handles used to come up from the ends, two sides. And 5-6 years ago, whatever, I was some kid, like, before this had come out in my area. I was like, why don't they just have it be one handle the long ways? It's more comfortable. They could even have it like shaped for your leg. It's obvious, but why do they have these uncomfortable hunks shit? And then obviously they come out with it, and I was crushed. It's like I could be a millionaire.
I thought, yeah.
But
Well,
those have been around for a long time. My grocery stores hadn't had them yet. So
anyway, so that's happened to me way more than one time. Hey, I thought of that too.
well, then you're on the right track. Whatever. You're not doing as poorly as you could be doing, closing yourself off. Ostrich method.
Thanks for that. I'm not doing as
That's a
poorly as
compliment.
I could be.
That's a compliment. What? Think about it.
That's a backhanded compliment to me, but it's okay. I'll take what I can get.
It was a backhanded compliment. I just mean, you hear this shit before, whatever. You didn't think of it. Who are you gonna be the next Jordan Peterson just because you thought of something like? Well, okay, now we're kind of playing for that, but I'm saying you're not really losing much by not having that moment saying, oh, because you have a lot of those every day. It's just something that was in a book.
Correct. Yeah. No. Yeah. Okay. I get your point, and I agree.
Sorry, I was jumping around there.
No.
But that makes sense, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. All you're missing on it at that point is just I thought of that.
Right.
That's my shopping basket.
Right.
Yeah.
That's okay. So are we doing the 8-ball thing?
I don't know. I
We're
wish
try-
we could ask the audience for feedback, but I don't.
Well, we don't have enough viewers.
I don't know how
mean,
productive that would be. Yeah.
we can get YouTube comments.
Yeah.
So did I tell you I thought of other names?
We should end the show rattling on. We should talk about the names and then end the show.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we've thought about behind the 8-ball because it's at a pool table. And coincidentally, last time I noticed that the way our my pool balls were racked had the 8-ball in the front. I'm like, hey, we're sitting behind the 8-ball. And it could be behind the 8-ball, but we're not really behind the 8-ball in the sense of the phrase. So maybe it's just the 8-ball. And Charlie and I had talked about having the wise 8-ball, and occasionally when we were like, we don't know what the answer is,
Right.
consulting the 8-ball.
At Jamie or whatever on Jerry.
It could be true. So I thought that was one more reason that was kind of cool.
I think that'd be funny.
So
Yeah,
the
like a
8-ball,
Pee Wee Herman kind of way. Yeah.
or in front of the 8-ball, or beside the 8-ball.
Asking questions, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Could be a funny part of the show. Like, all right, we have 5 8-ball questions today.
Yeah.
And
then we'll talk about it and be like, damn, I really thought it was going to be this. Oh, well.
maybe not today. I don't even remember what the 8-ball responses are. I thought of the grind or grinders. I thought of that just because of my life, because every morning is a grind.
I would avoid the term grinder, but that's okay
Okay.
to be in kind of a young person. It's it's for a certain thing. Anybody who watches this,
I know what it is.
Yeah, okay,
I
alright.
already thought of that, but whatever.
I think it matters.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now the other name escapes me.
Sorry. I'm bad at naming things 'cause I'm young, I think.
Oh,
That's gonna
Shades
be
of
it.
Grey, but that's kind of might be thought of as stealing a book title. Remember 50 Shades of Grey?
Yeah, it's
But Shades
just
of Grey.
words, whatever. But you're right.
I don't know.
Yeah, Shades of Grey. I don't really even
Beside the 8-ball?
no the 8-ball one. I'm open to that.
I mean, having
And
an
it's your
8-ball right
decision.
there, I mean, it
Yeah.
might be kind
A
of
huge one, like a novel,
the
gigantic
8-ball.
one.
Why the 8-ball? Well, we were sitting behind
don't
the
know,
8-ball, and then we thought of the 8-ball, and
Yeah,
we bought an 8-ball, and now it's the 8-ball.
yeah. I want to have props more than anything.
I think an 8-ball would be cool.
Yeah.
I like the 8-ball. I was watching a rerun of Friends, and they grabbed an 8-ball and just did some stupid skit.
That's
then-
funny.
And I just thought, I want an 8-ball. And you know what I want in my office at work? A lava lamp.
Lava lamps are great.
Yeah.
Would you get like a shitty cheap one or like a
No, I'd
freaking
get a nice
one?
one.
Yeah, well, obviously. What would an average guy do? Yeah. A sweet lava lamp, like an expensive one, I feel like would be
We can put one right there.
what? Oh yeah. Or just I don't know.
It'd be a distraction there. But behind us would be cool.
right in the camera, yeah. Yeah.
All right. We'll get an 8-ball and a lava lamp.
I don't like the taper design. I feel like it'd look cleaner if it was just a straight cylinder.
Do they make that?
I don't know. Somebody should, because that's a great idea. You're welcome.
What's wrong with the taper? I mean, that's all I've ever seen.
So whatever year that was invented. I don't even care enough about that to know the year. What year was that? Was it like 70s?
It was prevalent in probably the 60s
Yeah. So that's so 60s.
into the 70s.
Right. Now, if they had invented that in the 80s, it'd probably have a dope design.
You know what else are neat? If you could get a quality one, are those static machines. Where you touch
Oh,
it
yeah,
and
right.
lightning or static or whatever.
Yeah, like hands-on science museum
Mhm,
stuff. Yeah,
mhm.
those are cool. I always thought I would break it if I had one, like owned it.
Well, we could put a lava lamp and a lightning
So much
machine
of like,
and have an 8-ball there. We
nerdy
could just
kid
ask
shit.
the 8-ball.
yeah, what do we want?
Did you by any chance remember that guy, Josh Turner?
No response. But who am I? So what
Did you get an email address?
No, he has a contact me at whatever, and it's like through a. I didn't put enough time into it, and
Okay.
I've since forgotten about it until you just brought it up.
What we're talking about is part of my plan when I went on like a mission to launch this podcast was to have music on here and just, fade in, fade out, beginning and end, whatever. Not having known at the time that YouTube and all their copyright restrictions don't allow you to do that. So there's a guy, his name, and I'll plug him right now. His name's Josh Turner. He's got a YouTube channel and he sells discs and all that. And he's a very, very, very talented musician and singer. And I like listening to him, and I figured he might, he's got a YouTube channel. He has original stuff, and you can, with the artist or owner of the music's consent, you can play their stuff. So, Josh, you're a good and talented guy. So talented that it almost pisses me off. But that's okay. Anyway, we could potentially use his stuff and open and close with a song, or close with a song.
I think that makes it a little bit neater.
Yeah.
More put together.
Yeah. And like looking at Rogan's thing, he does the 3, 2, 1 with the logo.
That logo's freaky, man. It's like not normal people, Yeah.
Yeah, well, whatever. Nobody's normal.
Very much so. No, but he's like, yeah.
We can
mean,
get
more
into this another
primitive.
time, but you know what?
Sorry.
Everybody's weird.
Yeah.
It's just the people who are thought of as weird are just people who have the nerve to share it.
Or you mean share
same
it in
thing.
any? Yeah. Okay.
To let it out.
And then people who
Whether-
don't share it are serial killers. What?
No, they're the people who are considered more mainstream / normal. Because they don't
Okay.
share.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Right.
Right.
Obviously.
Everybody has personal,
Yeah.
unique proclivities, right? People with either nerve, some people share, I think, out of insecurity, but whatever. Your willingness to share what's unique and strange about you is generally what's perceived to be weird. But to me, the fact of the matter is we're all weird, but a lot of people don't have the nerve or the inclination or whatever reason. I mean, I'm pretty open with.
We're getting into culture.
We are getting into
Yeah.
culture,
We talk about this for hours.
and we're dragging on. So should we cut it for the night?
Yeah, I need to sign off. I'm sorry. Tonight I'm just going to leave you with nothing. But Chris has a sign off. So
My sign off is always over and out. Thanks for watching.
over and out. I'm just kidding. I'm kidding.
We can have the same sign off, over and out.
Over and out.
You're gonna make me keep doing it. We're done. Bye.